And of course, as everybody knows, dialect is, well, it's almost my religion. And I always tell everybody, the first time I realised there was such a thing as dialect, I was a farmer's daughter, broad dialect, taken from my little village school at Mount Hawk, when I was about 7, sent to a girls' school in Truro. Opened my mouth, broad dialect, and the headmistress said, "Oh, my dear child, we can't have you speaking like that. You must have elocution lessons." Well, I didn't know what she was talking about, so I went home to father and I told him. He said, "Take no notice of her, dear, I'm paying the bills." So father thought everything Cornish was right, so there was no problem. I don't think mother approved quite as much. I know I was collating all the words we use in Cornwall that we use to bring in the stock on the farm. And I got my mother to introduce me to a farmer friend, and I said to him, "Could you tell me what word you use to bring in the cows?" So he looked at me, he said, "Oh, goes on," he said, "I'd rattle the bucket." And that, of course, is collecting dialect, because Cornish men especially have a vein of imagination running through them that make them marvellous storytellers, and this is what I collect along the way. And of course, a lot of them, you know, some of their stories are a bit facetious. I always think that Cornishmen, you never know what's going to come out next. I said to one the other day, I said, "Where do you live?" He said, "Well, see they 3 houses over there? I'd live in the middle one." And you know, that is so typically Cornish. Like somebody said, he said, "He'd open his mouth for his brains ready for him." I mean, it's a lovely expression. And he don't know enough to know that he don't know nothing. I mean, we all know somebody like that, don't we? And they will come out with these things, which, like somebody said, "Isn't it funny," he said, "how some people to pop off quick and others to live up to the last minute." And of course, Cornish, you have to be very careful what you say to them. You know, developers are getting a lot of stick lately, aren't they? Well, a developer was going through a Cornish village, so he said to one of the locals, he said, "Here, my man, have you seen a cartload of monkeys go through the village?" So the Cornishman looked out and he said, "How fold off, have he?" Very typical how a Cornishman will react. And of course, you know, we put everything out in the summer and bring it in for winter. And you know Gull Rock out from Portreath there, I mean, been there millions of years. And the tourist who said to the cafe owner, he said, "Excuse me," he said, "has that rock always been out there?" I mean, what a daft question. So the Cornishman looked down, he said, "No," he said, "we'd bring it in for winter." And of course, you know, we're very careful with our money in Cornwall, or a bit neary, as we say in dialect. And there are a lot of stories about this. I love the one about the man from Bodmin, married a wife from down St Just. And they're talking about dying. She said, "Look, dear," she said, "when I go, I'd like to be buried down St Just." So he thought for a minute, he said, "Well, look, dear," he said, "we'll bury you first in Bodmin. If you don't settle, then we'll move you down to St Just." And of course, it's nice to get a sort of a modern one. Like Jack Thomas died in Truro. And so Mrs. Thomas went down to the West Britain and said, "I want to put this in the obituary column. I only wanted 3 words, Jack Thomas died." So the lady said, "Look, Mrs. Thomas," she said, £6 is the cheapest insertion, and for that you can have 6 words. She said, "Right, Jack Thomas died, Volvo for sale."